P's Gen Extra. I hope everyone is doing well. Good morning. Welcome to Sandra P's Gen Extra. I hope everyone is doing well on this Friday. And this is an unscheduled live. This is not a scheduled live. I just wanted to discuss the Nene Leakes and Cynthia Bailey interview with those of you who have seen it. If you haven't seen it, those of us that have can fill you in on it. As I said, since this is an unscheduled impromptu live, it will probably be a minute or so before people can get in. So while they're doing that, what I'm going to do is pull up my screen to make sure that I have sound and that everything is coming up fine. And then also what I want to do is pull up the Nene and Cynthia interview and just have that running next to me as well while we discuss it. And if you're in the bushes, thank you so much for being in the bushes. If you've not subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe. I would appreciate that so much if you do that. And as you can see, those lovely ladies, there is Cynthia Bailey, Cynthia with the cheekbones Bailey, and there is Nene Leakes during friendlier times. But those of you who have seen the interview, I had a chance to watch the entire thing, so I recommend it. If you've seen that, you will see that they missed each other's friendship, and I think they're at a different space in their friendship, and I'd love to see them back together as friends. So as you come in, just go ahead and check the like button. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If you're in the bushes, that's fine as well. I love the people that are in the bushes because that used to be me, and it's still me. When I'm at work and I have earbuds in, I have time, I'm in a place where I can listen, I do that. And that's how I get to go around to a lot of my chats, catch up on all the things I want to catch up on. I'll go down into the chat when I have time, but if not, then I'm just in the bushes. But I always click the like button upon entry as if it's ringing the doorbell. So that is just a way to keep me in the algorithm and get the channel going a little bit. So we see the picture of Nene and Cynthia there together. They are real friends, I thought, and I could tell that they were through this interview. I'm actually going to stop sharing because it takes up a lot of my screen. Okay, okay, there we go. Thank you. All right, we are back. Welcome to Sandra P's Gen Extra. Whoever is joining me, I appreciate you so much. Thanks for stopping in. I'm speaking about the Nene Leakes and Cynthia Bailey interview. As we know, Nene has started a YouTube channel. She's having excellent growth. It's the Nene Leakes Show. And Nene gets to have guests come in. Nene is engaging. I've always liked Nene's conversation. And as we know, Nene always says she doesn't watch TV. They were joking that she doesn't even probably know where the remote is at. So that's funny. She has 2 sons, so I'm sure when they come over there, they're willing to help her. But during the course of the interview, and somebody in the comments said, is Cynthia interviewing Nene or is Nene interviewing Cynthia? Cynthia has a podcast as well. Cynthia's podcast is with one of her, I was going to say a former castmate, but she's really not, Crystal from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Crystal had a couple of seasons, but Crystal didn't take off the way that people thought that she would, but I actually like Crystal. Crystal was one of the early people to see who and what Sutton is. We're seeing more of Sutton and how she treated Garcelle toward the end of their friendship, toward the end of Garcelle's time on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Excuse me for going off on a little tangent, but I always, as you know, if you've been here before, I like to put a background into it. Welcome to the chat, Sharon Gobble, my friend. Thank you so much for stopping in. Sharon came in, she's speaking, she says hello, and we are glad that Sharon is in the chat. I'm going to talk about the Nene and Cynthia interview. And so I actually think it was a really good interview. Because Nene doesn't watch TV, Nene is not up on a lot of modern things that happen, so she is having a conversation with the guests, and sometimes they're giving her information and filling her in on things. And because Cynthia and Nene have had this break in their friendship, they've seen each other from time to time, but they're catching up. And we are like flies on the wall kind of watching this interaction, which I thought was fascinating. I really love the way Nene did it. She did have her note cards, and Cynthia at one point joked, what you got on these cards? Like she's going to take the cards. Cynthia has a new product out. She has developed a tequila. We know Cynthia Bailey has been all over the world. She's an international woman. She has her one child, which is Noelle. We find out during the course of the interview, Noelle is now 25 years old, y'all. We watch Noelle on TV, maybe 9 or 10, very little. But on Cynthia's first season, she was brought in and they let us know the behind the scenes. Bravo told Cynthia that she possibly could be a housewife or a friend of, just depending on her storylines. Phaedra Parks was being brought on as well under the same conditions. So neither one of them had a real contract or this is your job. They're going in for a peach. It's not like we're seeing this season where it looks like people were just given a peach. Good morning, One Crafty Sister. Thank you so much for stopping in. I appreciate it. Where they're just given a peach. And we're talking about that because they're not ready like that. And that's been mentioned by a lot of the OGs, that these women that are just being given a peach, and we see the impact that it has on the show. Maybe 2 out of 3 times, it's just not going to work. One of them, I believe, is not working at all. I'm probably not even going to mention her today. Nene brings her up later, and I'll tell you in what context. But one of them is working out really well. And one I'm on the fence about because I don't know how much is true and how much is just affect in her acting. So we'll see about that. But Cynthia and Nene let us know that when they first met, Cynthia was working, well, she was helping Peter, who's her boyfriend at the time, or fiance, because she did end up marrying him. Cynthia and Peter dated about 1.5 years. Cynthia lived in New York. Peter was in Atlanta. Cynthia tells us that she relocated to Atlanta for Peter. And she said, and we know, she said, I'm a person, I love love. So she's in love with Peter Bailey. He gets her to move down south to Atlanta. And she, because she was up for the show, someone that worked with Peter had kind of a say-so in the casting, and they said Peter's girlfriend would be excellent. Cynthia Bailey, she is a supermodel. She's been out there for years. She's walked runways. She's traveled. She's a print model. Cynthia has done a little bit of everything. So Cynthia was interested in it. She didn't know anything about it either, but she would meet Nene, because Nene was the one within Housewives who was assembling and getting the girls together. She, as we know, she's the OG from the first season. She brought in Kim, Sheree. Nene assembled that Housewives show. We've heard Andy Cohen say that Bravo is the house that Nene Leakes built. So I don't care if they're friends or not. Andy Cohen has said it, and we know that that's the case. So Greg Leakes, rest in peace to Greg Leakes, Cynthia's late husband, Greg. And Cynthia confirms for us that Greg was Nene's right arm. Greg did so much for Nene. He was a husband. I don't know that he was the official manager, but he took care of everything. So he and Nene go to meet Peter and go in to meet Cynthia. Went to Uptown at the time. Bar One came later, but Uptown was Peter's first restaurant in Atlanta. So Nene says that when she met Peter, she thought that he was really mean. And she didn't really see him for Cynthia, but she thought that he was kind of mean. And Cynthia confirmed, she said Peter is rough around the edges, but she got to see the soft part. Peter came up quite a bit during the interview, to a point where near the end when Cynthia was saying, well, I'm gonna need y'all to stop bringing up Peter, because Cynthia was reading questions from the chat. And Peter's engaging. And Cynthia said that, yeah, he knew how to do TV and he ended up being a big part of it. Thank you, everyone that's coming in. Click the like button. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. We're discussing Nene and Cynthia's interview. If you have seen it, if you've not, I'm filling in everybody so we can discuss it. Okay, Sharon Gabo didn't watch it yet. It's a good watch. It's worth watching. It's about 1 hour or so, maybe a little longer. But what I was discussing at the very beginning, it is a conversation between friends. And we know their friendship has had rough patches, but they start out letting us know how they met. So Nene and Greg go to Uptown to meet Cynthia. And because it's Peter's restaurant, they meet Peter as well. And it was so funny. Nene said, she said, well, I thought Cynthia was kind of quiet. I didn't know how she was going to come across on the show. Cynthia was just laughing. And she said, and you know, Cynthia, I think you're the shadiest housewife. And Cynthia said, me, the shadiest housewife? I think that's true as well, y'all. Cynthia denied it. She's like, no. And Nene said, I didn't know at the time because I thought you were quiet. She said, and Cynthia said, I like to survey things. Cynthia will come into a room of people. She said, Nene is a big personality. When she comes in, and if you just watch season 1, episode 1, Nene comes in like, hey, Nene, hey. And she does do that. She sucks the air out of a room. And Cynthia said, yeah, that's true. Cynthia likes to go in the corner and kind of survey and see what's what. And she said, like, you know, kind of like a mouse. And then Nene said, yeah, but that mouse is ready for you to come over there in that corner and she can handle you if she needs to. And Cynthia said, that's right. I'm still here. And she said, you see, good morning to Latrice. Thank you so much for coming in. She came in speaking to everyone. Cece as well. Good morning. Good morning. Cynthia is low down shady. She is. Cynthia. And the thing that Nene said that was so funny about that type of shade, Sharon, she said, Cynthia has the type of shade that you're thinking about it a minute and kind of wondering, like, did she mean it like that? Did she say? That's that good shade where it's not an insult right to your face. It's like you have to be smart enough to almost catch it. Now, I'll give there's a new peach, Angela Oakley, that has almost that same type of shade. You got to be kind of a little smart to get it. We saw her throw a little bit of shade that the person was offended. They knew to be offended, but they didn't really know what the person was saying and kind of took it literal. So Cynthia has that type shade. So that was really funny to me that Nene brought that up to Cynthia, because Cynthia was trying to deny it at first. Nene was asking Cynthia what her expectations were of the show. Cynthia had no expectations. She'd been done different things, little TV stuff. This actually, Real Housewives, we've seen reality TV for years, starting with The Real World. But the way The Real Housewives was done, it was just something we had not seen before. I think OC was first, and then we had Real Housewives of Atlanta. But everybody should be in agreement that The Real Housewives of Atlanta is what put that whole franchise on the map and let more cities be able to come in. Everybody, thanks for coming in. As you come in, just click the like button, even if you're in the bushes. We're talking about Nene Leakes and Cynthia Bailey. So Phaedra was also given the same type deal as Cynthia, that she's going to come in. We're going to see what storyline is going to be. Whoever has the best one is going to get the peach. And then they have space for a friend of. Now, we know that season, they ended up hiring both ladies. So Cynthia and Phaedra got a peach that season. And I say well-deserved. Cynthia was doing her Bailey Q then. And at the Bailey Q, that is actually the famous scene. Phaedra is already pregnant. She's married to Apollo. She can't nail down a due date, or she won't for the audience, for the viewer, and for the ladies. So Cynthia asked a funny question. She said, Nene, did you know, as we were going through a lot of the lines, she said, you're the most memed housewife, maybe one of the most memed person. Did you know that as you were saying things that people would pick it up and say it? Nene said, no. She said she didn't know. That's just how she is. That's how she talks. Because remember, Phaedra's like, I don't know what I was doing. And Nene said, you've got a hood, even a hood chick down in wherever, she know when she got pregnant, but Phaedra, Little Miss, at the time, she wasn't a city girl like Phaedra is now. Phaedra had a little prayer cloth over her legs, and she was doing something different. But Phaedra's changed over the years, as we all change over the years. So Cynthia and Nene just talked about their experience together. They talked about their breakup. That came at a time Kenya Moore came on the show, and a lot of people think, and I do too, there were situations where Kenya is very possessive as a friend, in my opinion, and she was a little jealous of the friendship between Cynthia and Nene, and made moves to kind of put a wedge into it. And Claudia was as well. Remember, had the smalls versus the talls, but Cynthia and Nene would kind of get into it. I think they had the most natural relationship out of all the ladies on the show, Cynthia and Nene. And during the course of this interview, it's really funny. Cynthia brought her tequila, and she opened the bottle and she said, I needed to take a shot before we continue talking, because Nene was asking a lot of in-depth questions. And Nene finally said, look, you don't have to bring me another bottle, which is true. She said, who told you to open my gift? Because she did gift the bottle to Nene. It's a beautiful bottle. It's tequila. She made it. So she pours the tequila for Nene. They both take a drink. And Nene agrees she liked margaritas. But another thing that came up was that the friend contract. Cynthia said she didn't know that was going to be such a big deal. We remember Nene and Kim always being good friends. They were good friends first season, and they went to Sheree's party. And because Nene wasn't on the list, my name's on the list, Nene's isn't. And Kim rode with Nene because that's her friend. Cynthia says that she could feel kind of maybe a little bit of ice from Kim because Nene and Cynthia were becoming so close, which is true. I do remember that as well. And she said, well, I'm going to do something funny. I'm going to give Nene this, she calls it a friend contract. I'm going to give her this friendship contract. And it's going to be really funny. We'll get a laugh, and then we'll be close again, because they kind of have an on and off thing. And also, Nene let us know, she said, Peter used to hate on us. And Cynthia said, yeah. She said, you were the person I would talk to all day, most of the day. We both be doing other things and still be on the phone. And Cynthia's mother could say, who's on the phone? It's Nene. Peter would say, who's on the phone? It's Nene. And Peter started having a problem with it, which I think we kind of saw on the show. So there was a scene at, I forgot whose house they were at, but Cynthia brought the friendship contract. just to kind of lay down the rules in their friendship and kind of as a joke as well. And then she said, Kim, make the Kim face. That's weird. Oh, it's weird. And I do remember Kim doing that. And Cynthia said it was awkward and she was really embarrassed. She was upset over it. And she said she wondered if that's going to even cost her job. But people are going to think she's corny. They don't really want her on the show. And she said, some of our friend, we know him, executive producer. At the time he was a producer, initial CK. They gave him Carlos. She gave him the contract, and he said, a friend contract, you're fine. You just bought another season. And she's like, what? This is, everybody's thinks it's corny. Kim's making fun of me. He said, no, they're going to be talking about this for seasons. And it's true. Now we do talk about the friend contract, and it is something that Cynthia did on a whim. She thought it was corny, a little joke, and would be funny, but it's something that's endured. So we still always talk about friend contract. Did anybody else watch the Nene interview? It took me a couple of times to watch it because I was doing other things and then I was just going back and forth between it. Let me see what else. I know Sharon didn't watch it yet. Okay, Nene brings up the season that Cynthia came on, it was part of her storyline, but part of her life as well. And that's what I liked about the show. At the time, I feel like the cameras used to follow the ladies as far as what happened. Now, I think some of the ladies say, well, if I'm going to be on the show, I need to do this. I need to get that. I need to have this and show the audience that. And maybe that's not their real life. That's just how they want to present themselves. But with Nene and Cynthia at that time, we were seeing these ladies' real lives. So Peter and Cynthia were engaged to be married. She had just relocated from New York to Atlanta. Peter was running uptown. Cynthia was helping him in it. And Cynthia was telling us at the time that there were financial problems. Now that is played out. We know that about Peter, that he has opened many restaurants, not only in Atlanta, but in Miami. And there has been some problems. I don't think has he reported to jail, anybody? I don't think he's reported to jail. I saw him on a blogger's channel a couple of weeks ago talking about the Real Housewives of Atlanta. So he's still in that Real Housewives of Atlanta universe. And Cynthia let us know that they are still in touch. They're cordial. They are not friends. But Peter has a daughter named Portia. And Cynthia told us, Cynthia had Noelle, her one daughter. Peter has a few children. But Portia told Cynthia, we're close. I love you. I know you love me. When you divorce, please don't divorce me. That was really touching to me, y'all, because sometimes that happens. If it's not your child, when you get divorced, if the person's petty, especially, you will lose contact with the children. So Portia's a woman now. She's an adult, but Cynthia said that is one of her closest friends. So I really love that. And that's one thing I liked about the interview as well. You could see the emotion between Cynthia and Nene. And Cynthia kept saying, she said, I've never met anybody like you. I've never had a friendship like yours. She said, I won't call you a soulmate, which I found funny because there was another show, Bell Collective. Season 1 of that show, they're two friends, Marie and Essie. And Marie described Essie as a soulmate. I don't know why people think that's so strange, but people accuse them that they're lesbians. You don't have to be in a sexual relationship to have a soulmate. I understand what Cynthia was saying about Nene. And Nene agreed. She said, yeah, that's true. And Cynthia said, and another reason I say it is because we could be apart or we could not be on good terms and I cannot see you for years. And when we see each other, it's like we've not lost any time. So that is true. There are people that you can have a friendship with like that. So I love to hear them expressing that to each other. They mentioned the last time they saw each other was in Abu Dhabi. So that, yeah, they international, y'all. They get around, Nene and Cynthia. They also had met in LA. They ran into each other and they all had dinner together. They mentioned that Marlo was at the same spot. They ran into Miss Lawrence. So it might have been some type Bravo event for all these Bravo celebrities to be in one spot. So that was really interesting. They had dinner at Chops. They talked about their lives. Cynthia said when she met Nene in Abu Dhabi and they hadn't seen each other in 2 years, she said they talked most of the night. And they ended up being alone together and just having a conversation. She said, I had not seen you in that kind of peace in years and years and years. And Nene let her know. She said, yeah, she said when she lost Greg, it was a grief unlike any she had ever experienced. Nene said she had lost her mom. That is a deep grief. I can confirm that. But Nene said losing Greg was like, she had not experienced anything like that because she had been with Greg since her 20s. Greg was the type of man, an old school OG type who did take care of everything. And Cynthia said, yeah, he was your right arm. She said, I didn't know how you were going to do anything. Cynthia said when she found out that Greg was sick and then Greg had passed, she said, how's Nene going to pay her light bill? That came up. How are you going to pay the light bill? How are you going to, that she didn't know how to do stuff. And Nene said, I guess it was the sons would write stuff down like, call Time Warner and then tell them this, call AT&T, and then you do that. So I guess there are women that are comfortable letting men take control like that. Now, I do know some women that have control. They're their own household manager and take care of things like that. And if something happened to them, the other person wouldn't know how to do it. I need to know what's going on. I don't think I could let go like that for anybody. I don't. But that fed into her sense of grief and loss. Be True, thank you for joining the chat. You're a great Housewives historian. Thank you. Keep up the good work. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I love the show and what it's brought to us and the ladies. Sharon Galbert. I always thought Greg was so handsome. You see him like an OG as I do. He was always put together, always well put together. And he was nice looking. Brent looks just like him. Nene was complimenting Brent one time and she said, oh, you have the nose that I wanted to have. It was before Nene had one of the work done that she has done. So now she looks more like Brent than Bryson. Bryson's nice looking too. He looks like Nene. He has Nene's original face. Okay, so Nene said that she was in a new relationship at that time. And we know that this is a person who always wanted to be seen. I don't even know his name. I never paid attention to him other than him being with Nene. But she said that person, she said she wishes that she had not brought their relationship into public. So Cynthia mentioned she's in a new relationship. Her boyfriend is younger. He's Dutch. She didn't mean to bring him public, but TMZ camps out at the airports. They saw Cynthia and her new man and photographed them and I guess put a video of them out and everything. And that's how we found out about Cynthia's new man. So she said she's in love with love. She said Noelle talks to her. She said, most people advise don't be friends with your children, but that is her only daughter. She's a girl and she's learned so much from Noelle. I remember Noelle being one of the only ones to encourage Cynthia during her marriage to Peter. When she's, well, do you think I should do it? Because we know Mal and the mom were against it. And Cynthia admits now that they were right. But Nene asked what happened with the marriage certificate. You remember that Mallory and the mother didn't know whether or not they wanted to bring the marriage certificate. Because in Georgia, I guess you have to have that or file that or something for it to be legal. And Cynthia said it didn't go exactly the way they portrayed it on TV. Cynthia says that Cynthia says, but I have to express it that way because of how the interview went. It was a real conversation. It was just them talking to each other. So instead of occurrences or things that happen, I'll just tell you what it was. And if you watched it, just put in what you thought of it and that sort of thing. Some of you haven't watched it yet, but I think it's still worth watching, even though I'm telling you all about it. So Nene asked Cynthia what really happened with the marriage certificate. We remember that was a big part of the storyline. And Peter felt kind of angry toward Mal and the mother for years because of that, because they were kind of doubting her relationship with Peter. It was only a year and a half. They weren't together for years, so it was kind of quick. She had Noelle. He had his children. I think he told Phaedra at the time he had 5 children, and Phaedra shaded him that, well, Apollo doesn't have any children. He's a nice, clean man. Is Apollo a nice, clean man? But that's what Phaedra was saying at the time. This is when she was church lady, because we know her mother is the minister. But what Cynthia said is that she keeps a vision board, and then she can even put important documents on it. She left the marriage certificate pinned to the board. And even though there were producers there, everybody helping her get her makeup, her dress, everything done, get to the location, she left the marriage certificate. So the scene that we see is that somebody had to go back to get it. The mother was still at the house. Mal came in the room and Mal had the marriage certificate. And then they filmed the conversation of them saying, you think we should give it to her? And then Cynthia didn't know about it at the time either, that that's what happened. So that's why they got upset. Thank you so much, Sharon Galbert. This is my mustard. I was thinking about Kendrick when I pulled this out because I was talking to my nieces who went to the show Saturday night here in Charlotte, and they got a downpour, like the Diana Ross historic downpour in Central Park that I was telling you all about, I think last weekend. So that was funny that those two things kind of corresponded. And then we saw Diana Ross at the Met Gala for the first time in over 20 years because Tracy Ellis Ross was one of the co-chairs. Okay, so the show is different. They talk about that the ladies are younger. Cynthia said, well, the show skews younger. We knew that would happen. And Nene's a shade assassin. Nene said, younger? She said, these girls are in their 40s. She said, so they're younger than us, but nobody's young. She said, I think one is in their 30s, which is Britt is in her 30s. Cynthia asked Nene whether or not she had met any of the new ladies. She said that she met Kelly, y'all, which made sense. She said she met Kelly at a restaurant that also had a bar. Kelly was eating her food at the bar. Nene was eating at a table. They spoke to each other. She said, and Kelly was looking over. She said Kelly finished her food and then came to Nene's table. Nene invited her to sit down, and they had a really good conversation. She said Kelly waited while Nene finished her food, and they just talked to each other, had conversation. So Kelly does seem like she's that engaging type person. She said she's known Angela over the years at different events, so that tracks. That makes sense because Charles has been in Atlanta for years. Angela has as well, and Angela does do different things around the community. So Nene does know of Angela. That's the other new peach. She has known Shamia for years. Shamia is the other new peach because Shamia being a friend of Portia and also being friends to Candy. Nene has been around both, and she knows Shamia from that. And then she said that she didn't meet. She said, I saw Britt Edie, and Britt Edie saw me. She said, but she didn't speak, and so I didn't speak. And y'all, that tracks as well. So imagine you're going on a show like the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Nene, if you had to say, quick, name a Real Housewives of Atlanta. If you don't know the show, people are going to say Nene, even though she hasn't been on the show in years. So you're a new peach coming in. You see Nene Leakes somewhere out in Atlanta, and you don't go over to her and just say, hello, my name is Britt. Nice to meet you. You have any words or anything like that? So I thought that was really strange, but I also thought it tracked. But I believe that Britt has watched the show and studied the show because she knows a lot about Kenya Moore. She uses her lines. She kind of always wanted engagement with her, want a hug. It's just strange. And then from what I saw of Britt in the show that we reviewed last night, it came on Sunday. I have a little bit of compassion for Britt. There's something going on there that's a little sad to me. I know nobody likes Britt. I don't care for her, but there's something going on with Britt, y'all. So I have to make allowances for her. Why would you see Nene and not speak? Britt is not savvy. Cece, she's not. And I don't know what she can use as an excuse. I think she's the type of woman because she says, I don't get along with females. So she's the type of woman that is used to people maybe fawning over her or treating her a certain way. That would be men. That would be men that maybe, and she tells us she's a video girl from a teenager. So she just relates in a different type way, but she's not a girl's girl at all. You shouldn't have to be a girl's girl. You could be, as Cece put it, savvy or try to learn to be savvy. Kelly did the exact right thing. Some people think Kelly is fake. They think she's doing too much, but I understand Kelly sitting at the bar. How do we know she didn't know Nene was going to be at that same place? But she made sure she finished her food, got her little self over there, spoke to Nene, and was invited to sit and stay and let Nene finish her meal. So Kelly is doing it the right way. So if Bravo says, okay, the audience is not feeling all these peaches, we gave out 4 new peaches, who's going to stay? Angela Oakley, I think, is going to be invited back. More than likely, Shamia and Kelly. I think if somebody gets a one and done, it's probably going to be Britt. I don't know that they're going to keep 4 new peaches, especially starting out the interview. Nene and Cynthia let us know that you kind of had to try out for your peach, other than the first season with Deshaun Snow and all those ladies when they hired them before the show. So, and I think they should actually go back to doing that. Nene asked about Noelle. Noelle is 25 years old now. Nene let Cynthia know Brent's 25, Bryson's in his 30s. She said that Nene's a grandmother. Bryson has 3 children and Brent has 1. Noelle doesn't have any children, but Cynthia said if she wants to have a child in her life, I would love to be a grandma. Cynthia said that Noelle is something called fluid. Excuse my ignorance. I don't really know what that is. I have younger nieces and I'm just learning like pronouns and things like that. I think she said that sexuality is, some of these younger kids see it on a spectrum. They won't say, straight or gay, or I only like men, or I only like women, or I like both. They said they're fluid. So that's what Noelle says she is. So go ahead, Noelle. So Cynthia says she thinks Noelle's really brave. She's proud of Noelle. I think I may have heard something about it, but there wasn't a big deal made out of it. I guess just because of the times. And I don't think that's good. You know, Noelle, do what you want to do. I always love Noelle. Because to me, Noelle's so gorgeous. She's the perfect blend. My camera stopped, but if you can hear me, just put a 1 in the chat. My camera stopped. I'm going to change comments and then hopefully. Oh, no. Guys, I think I'm buffering. Okay, I think I'm back. Thank you so much. If the camera is frozen, that's okay. I'll still change the comments. But I always thought Noelle is the perfect blend of Leon and Cynthia with all those angles in their face, just that angular, the cheekbones and the chin and the forehead. Just, I love their looks. Thank you all so much. Sharon Garbo said, child, I would have introduced myself so fast. I saw Nene somewhere. Yes, Sharon, that's just smart. Whether you work on the show or not, that you have to be savvy in that way. I cannot understand making contact with the likes of a Nene Leakes and not speaking to her, especially when you're going on her show. I can't believe it. Thank you all for speaking to each other in the chat. My camera is frozen. That's something that it has been doing. As long as you can hear me, just never mind with that. Thank everyone that comes in. Noelle is gorgeous. She is. Perfect blend of Leon and Cynthia. So Cynthia is still interviewing Nene. They made me laugh with that because Cynthia, she was kind of giddy to just get to be around Nene again. And she said, I'm so glad I got a chance to come here. Nene said, I asked the audience, I asked my chat, my subscribers, who do they want me to talk to? She said, you were one of the names that came up. Cynthia said, what? I thought you were the one that said. So they were laughing about that. And Nene was asked by Cynthia, what was as Cynthia put it, what is your rose and the thorn of Real Housewives? Cynthia said the best thing has been, Nene said the best thing about it has been the check and also the platform and what she's been able to gain from the platform, what she's been able to accomplish. Because that's true. Nene was able to go Hollywood. She was on that show Glee for years until they canceled it. Nene's been able to do a lot of things that I don't know that Cynthia Leakes from Athens, Georgia, she would have been a success, but I don't know that she would have been Nene Leakes without Real Housewives of Atlanta. I don't know. So she said the thorn, which would be the bad part of it, is people being so judgy, people seeing you for an hour a week and just portions of that hour and feeling like they know your life and they can judge you. So that is what Nene said her rose and thorn was. Cynthia gave hers. She said the platform, and then also that it is kind of sorority sisters. You've gained all these sisters and you are kind of bonded for life, for better or worse. Cynthia feel like once a housewife, always a housewife, even if it's one season wonders. And I don't know who is it. Was Tanya ever a housewife? We've had a few one season. Deshaun Snow is the one season wonder that I don't understand, other than I think Andy likes more ratchet, more in your face type things. Not calling the season 1 ladies the other ones ratchet, because I don't think that they are. I don't think Nene or Sheree were. I think Kim Zolciak is, absolutely, and Andy loves her. But he just felt like Deshaun Snow did not fit. And I think that she did fit. She absolutely fit. Cynthia said the thing that is her thorn, she dislikes the public judging as well, and also kids being up for discussion when they don't have a choice. And she said the reason she advised Noelle to go public with her being, as she called it, fluid, is because she don't want people to think because we didn't see it on TV, we are saying she's hiding something, which Noelle doesn't have to hide anything. She didn't have the job on Real Housewives. And Cynthia, when she filmed with Noelle, they didn't really talk about that either. Now, I remember Angela, hey, good morning, my moderator, my friend. Thank you so much. One of my travel buddies. Thank you for coming into the chat, Angela A. I'm speaking on Nene and Cynthia's friendship and the interview that they just did. But with Noelle, I remember when I would see her on TV as she was growing up, and Sheree, when she was still on the show, her son, as he was coming up, he was modeling a little bit as well, and Noelle was. And they had a scene where they were together, and I was like, oh, wouldn't that be so cute if Noelle got together with Sheree? So, that kind of silly thing. We see people together. If you're kind of like an auntie, you're like, oh, that would be cute. But the kids usually never go for that. If you point somebody out to them, they're not going to want to date that person. So that's one of the things, people kind of making judgments on the housewives or pulling their kids into stuff. Cynthia nor Nene like that. So Nene said, okay, thank you for coming, this and that. Cynthia was still talking. She's like, I enjoyed this so much. We're going to get back together. Cynthia joked, we're going to need a new friendship contract. So I hope they're still in touch and that they're still friends. The Nene was kind of teasing her a little bit that, yeah, you know, she might sign a new friendship contract. And then Cynthia said, okay, everything's been great. And she said, look at me trying to close your interview. But she said, well, let me tell you, Nene, I'm proud of you. I love you. I love supporting you. Even when we were not friends, I still supported you. And that she's glad that Nene asked her there. And Nene tells Cynthia the same thing. They always have a place in each other's heart. And when they're together, time doesn't stop. It just stands still. And they mentioned the time. Nene said the worst time of their friendship was when she said Cynthia blocked her. Cynthia said, I didn't block you. I put you on mute. So they laughed about that. They didn't know which, but they were not in touch. And I think when they fell out, it was because of other people. So that was the end of the interview, y'all. It went on about an hour. I talked a little over 30 minutes on it. So some of you have seen it, some not. If you have not seen it, it's still worth watching. Please watch it. So thank you for coming to Sandra P's Gen Extra. As I said, this was unscheduled. It was an impromptu live. So I appreciate you all coming in. I'm going to find that picture of these two ladies together if I can. Let me see. Oh, no, that picture's gone. There we are. Let me see if I can share. It's too much for me to share. I was going to end on that picture, and I may still do so. But if I don't get to come back on, thank you for joining Sandra P's Gen Extra. Have a great day, everybody.